All right. I am pleased to have Mr. Maheshana. Welcome back.
Thank you, Shepard, for the opportunity again.
I felt like probably we might just continue. Oh my God, why is English not Englishing?
It's nerves.
Is there still the nerves? I think they're still coming out. So I wanted to say that our first podcast, I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. We were talking about African spirituality and how it, in the context of Christianity, how things have changed through the times. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, probably two things that came out of there is the one point that I like is you said these religions have been like intertwining throughout the years, and it's something that you find that is continuing even now. And I mean that I really enjoyed that part of our conversation. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, I think we were onto something here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So some other time, I think we'll maybe have to go back.
Yeah, I think that should be something that we should do for the next podcast. And I had Peninsula on the podcast. And
yeah, no, that was great. I was happy. I was rooting for you. I'm like, yeah.
Sure.
I was so happy for you.
Yeah.
And as I was coming back here, when I was coming here, I was thinking about it. I'm like, one thing that will make your podcast successful is consistency. That's one thing I feel like people tend to miss when it comes to social media, especially like creating content. If you're being consistent, and if you look back at people who have viewerships of 2 million on YouTube and all of those things, you go back to their first videos, you find that they had like 2 views, 3 views, but knowing and not looking at the viewership and just producing your content, getting better at it.
Sure.
Like what we talked about before we became on air. You perfecting your craft, you getting good at it, and there are people who are gonna meet you when your listenership is in 200,000. They're like, where was this guy? Like the guy has always been there. It's just that
he was polishing.
He was getting good at what he does. So yeah.
Yeah, man. That conversation, I guess it was. Unfortunately, we were rushed a bit, but I feel like. Because I've been checking the comments and some of them are butchering me. It's like, no, you're not a correct representative of Christianity. I'm like, no, man, it's okay. But I think like we were talking before, it's like, I think people appreciate someone who can speak properly and can articulate their thoughts well. And I feel like that's a skill that I need to learn to become much better in hosting podcasts. But enough about me and the previous podcast. But yeah, this is your second time. Thank you so much again for honoring the podcast. Just wanted you to, introduce yourself, and we can just get into the business.
Oh yeah. My name is Sibongiseni Maheshana from Queenstown. I've been in Cape Town, I think, for more than 10 years now. I studied quantitative surveying at CPUT, and I've been in the workplace for 8 to 9 years. It feels like yesterday, but
disbelief, sure.
So yeah, I met you, Shepard, if I remember, in varsity. I used to see you
really?
guys. Yeah, you used to come to SEO. I was big. I was consistent in SEO those days. So I used to see you guys when you first started.
It's funny enough.
First year, you guys won't probably remember me.
Yeah.
You and Kim and
so you were a senior.
Yeah, I was there.
So funny enough, I think probably you were in the background.
Yeah, no, I was not. I was. I served in my first year, and I think on my second year, then I went to do my in-service training. Then I came back. Third year gets busier, and BTech is much hectic. So then I pulled back. But
which makes sense, because I think that's how it's structured for quantity surveyors. You go work, you study, work, and then you have to come back again and finish your courses, right?
Yeah, it's the most annoying thing, if I may say, because you taste money, then you have to go back to being a student.
No, that's bad, because I think it was the civil engineering and you guys, quantity surveyors, you did this. It was structured that way, and for me, it feels awkward. Like, why would they do that to a student?
There is a reasoning behind it.
Okay.
Because once you get to third year is difficult, but the fact that you have work experience, you have felt now what you studied for. Okay. Especially like if you're doing quantity surveying at CPUT. CPUT is a former technical university. So it's like a technical university. So. So when you're doing building, then you do quantity surveying in your BTech. When you're doing building, your diploma, you have not really, you have not decided which side you're gonna go to.
Okay,
so
sure.
there, like for example, I'll make an example. There are people who do building, and in their in-service training, they either do the in-service training in a contracting firm, like more like in the construction management,
sure,
or do the in-service training in a quantity surveying firm, which I did. Then so because you do building, then you specialize in either construction management or quantity surveying. Okay. So like the construction management, when you're being on site and you get back to school, when they talk about a base or when they talk about a column, you have seen this thing, you know, you have touched it sometimes. I know guys who were made to dig bases or or mix mortars. So yeah. I think there's benefits to it. There's benefits to it.
What made third year so difficult? Because it's like, because you know when you're at university, and especially when you're doing engineering, and there's like different engineering students around, and every time you always hear rumors, like in the civil, that hey, third year, I shows flames. And what was happening? What's happening there?
I think for me, third year was a bit difficult because I did like more subjects. Okay. I would say subjects or modules.
Modules.
Yeah, I did more. There was more volume of work. Okay. And also I think the content is a bit much meatier. so and also what complicated it, or let me say not really complicated, but what made it even more difficult on my time is in my third year, that's where the university was merging between the former Cape Tech and the Pentech. We were like all the students from Cape Town were moved. I don't know if you remember.
No, I do remember. Yeah,
they were moved to
the main Belleville campus. The main campus. Yes, I remember.
Then the business student went to Cape Town campus.
Yes.
So in third year, we had like lecturers were not happy with that, so they were still teaching. So and lecturing. Let me say lecturing.
Sure.
Still lecturing. So they came in there, and you can imagine being lectured by someone who's not happy.
Sure.
They don't trust your first year, or like they don't trust your foundation.
The processes, yeah, sure.
Because they're like, we're in Cape Tech or in the Cape Town campus, we're doing well, and I don't know this type of students that we have here in the Belleville campus. So that's what made it difficult.
Even more difficult, okay.
Yeah. But we pushed, so yeah.
I think that's the beauty of studying and being a student, and especially if you were to try to reflect, you see that though there were times where you were just vibing, but at the end of the day, you have pushed and you have graduated, and you did your BTech as well.
Yes.
And how's that?
It was. I enjoyed. I think I enjoyed the BTech. I didn't perform as much as I'd like in terms of my marks, and I think I didn't even get a distinction in my BTech. Yeah, but BTech was I enjoyed the content of BTech because now it's more, because in BTech you are specializing. So I was doing quantity surveying. So you see where you're going. Let me put it like that. You see where you're going, and we also did we're doing construction law, which I enjoyed.
JBCC,
yes,
okay.
GCC, NEC.
Sure.
I enjoyed that a lot, and also quantity surveying in BTech and also economics. So BTech was nice, even though I didn't perform well, but I did enjoy it. I won't lie. Yeah.
I think to make it easier for us for this conversation, I just want you to just explain what is quantity surveying, and you can also touch on the difference between the contractual quantity surveyor and you said management.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So quantity surveying,
Sure.
it's we are financial consultant or cost consultants in the built environment, or let me say in the construction, and we also offer contractual advice when it relates to built environment and the construction industry. So when I talk about it, I like to say it goes as far back as the biblical times.
Okay.
There's a verse in the Bible, I think it's Luke 14:28. It says that if one wants to build a tower, he must first calculate the cost before starting. So that's what we do.
So you love your job so much, you had to find a scripture.
I had to find it in the Bible. So that's what quantity surveyors do.
Sure.
We prepare budgets. We offer contractual advice. We prepare tender documents. In this time of tenderpreneur, so we prepare those tender documents, and we advise clients. Different type of clients, like if you have someone who's building a house and someone who wants to build a block of flats or a mall, we offer that advice in which will be different depending on the needs of the client. But that's quantity surveying, is financial consultants in the construction industry. So if I give you a little bit of history, which will benefit our listeners also. Quantity surveying, the term quantity surveying comes from the document that we work with or we produce, which is the bill of quantities.
Come on. Yes.
That's where quantity surveying actually comes from. So the bill of quantities, like you have a bill when you go to a restaurant, they give you a bill of what you ate and what it costs. So a bill of quantities, it's exactly that. So it's, you have your quantities in a form of the quantities of what is going to be built. Like let's say if you're building a house, so you have that. But now at school we are being trained, because there is standards that come and the preparation that you have to go through to be a quantity surveyor. So if someone is going to be building a house, you don't go and just check, okay, how many bricks set builders, how much is going to cost. There is a way we get to the costs, as compared to someone who has not been trained, who will just say, I'll just go to builders and ask them how much are the bricks, how much is cement, how much is,
Sure.
So ours is more structured.
In depth, sure.
It's more structured.
So sometimes it's also called bill of material as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's many terms to it, but the bills of quantities, that's what I would say gave us the name of quantity surveying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's also something that is not really talked about much, which we do, where we help when it comes to doing feasibility studies or viabilities, especially for developers. So, for example, if a developer has a lot of money, in their disposal,
which you guys love.
Yeah, and there are people out there who have money and they will be like, what should I do with my money? Sure. So a developer will meet up with an architect and says, look, I'm not sure which route I want to go, but I want to invest this money in form of property, and then the architect, then the quantity surveying and the architect, then they will be brought in to prepare these like estimates and the viability and the feasibility. So in that instant, you will have the architect doing sketches, let's say for single dwelling housing or block of flats.
Okay.
Then the quantity surveyor will do a feasibility study and say, look, on the block of flats, you're going to make a return of 11%. On the single dwelling houses, you're going to make a return of, let's say, 10%.
Okay.
Then the developer is like, okay, I know what to do based on the return. So we offer that like decision making, if I may put, like to developers to say, should they go through the project or not, which makes our work so important, because if you tell someone is going to make a return of 11% and they don't, so you are in trouble. so it makes it's challenging in that instance, because you need to know what you're talking about to come and tell someone that they will make a return, because a feasibility in its definition is when you want to make a decision. Like, it's a decision making tool. So
okay, sure,
if you in any industry, if there is a request to do a feasibility, that document or that report, feasibility report, is going to be a decision making tool. So it's either you go through what you studied now, like in anything, the moment there is a feasibility being done, that is a decision making tool. From there, you can say we can go through, or we need to wait, or we need to pull back, it won't work.
I'm trying to think now, is there a project which you had to do something like that, and maybe just to explain the process? I know you have just explained the process now, but I just want to see it from your own practical way. To say, okay, this is what you have done, and what are the challenges that usually happens in between. So at least the reason why I'm asking this is, sometimes you can say I'm going to be doing quantity surveying, but sometimes you don't even understand, okay, if I'm doing a feasibility study, how does that look like practically?
I think for my experience, because of the sensitivity of that, I've not worked on that part of my career much, but I can remember one where I was part of the team. We were doing it for, I won't mention the client, but it was for apartment block in Germiston.
Okay.
We're doing it here in Cape Town, but for Germiston, and it was the idea was to attract the low cost housing market.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the challenge isn't much on the technicalities of it, of like your training and all of that. The challenge is coming in and dealing with like different types of clients, because there are clients who have the means, like they do have the money, and there are clients who still need to go to a board and present like what you saying is going to be the return, and they come back to the consultant team, which will be your structural engineer, architect, and the quantity surveyor, and all, and the people who are involved at that time. They'll come back and say, look, we're not happy with 11% return. What can be done? Then the engineers and the architect, they need to go back to the drawing board and maybe pick a much cheaper material that can be used, which will reduce the the construction costs, but still look good or still meet the quality standards. So your training is not much challenged, if I may put it like that, as like what you learned at school. But there's things that you are not really taught at school, like handling a client. It's something that is not really taught. You just know that you're going to be dealing with clients, but you don't know which type of clients you'll be dealing with, because clients are one thing that make our industry, I would say, to be challenging. Like they are the challenging part, because you forever need to meet the needs of the client, and also the client needs to feel like they're getting a value for money. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, yes you did. Because I'm thinking, as a quantity surveyor, the going back to the feasibility study, right? Are you now supposed to be able to know the electrical and the mechanical or the other structural information to actually do the feasibility study? Or do you get, like, let's say maybe you get the job, right? Or maybe rather, let me call it a proposal, that we're going to be doing this block of flats, and they tell you, okay, can you please do a feasibility study? Are you supposed to know all the components of what makes that building or project finished, or do you have to now take that proposal and send it through to other consultants to give you to give you feedback on this thing?
You need to have a knowledge, but you don't necessarily need to know like the in-depth of,
okay, sure.
Like I'll make an example with like your typical project.
Okay.
Let's still just talk about, like, if you're doing a block of flats. You need to be able to communicate with your electrical engineer. Say, look, this is what the client is looking for. You know, in terms of costs. Like if you're dealing with a luxury apartment block.
Okay.
You know, the engineer will go and the electrical engineer will go and do their own bill. But they need to understand, okay, this is the direction we're going at. It's luxury, so your type of lights can't just be fluorescent lights, and the mechanical engineer need to understand, okay, maybe we'll need to have an aircon, you need to have all of those things. But you need to have an understanding of the different industries, because
sure.
It matters, as I've mentioned before, that we also prepare contractual documents. So you need to know, have a knowledge of the mechanical components that will be there in a house or in a shopping center or in an apartment block. You may not know it the same depth as a mechanical engineer, but we do need to know of them. But to also answer your question, we do get the input of different consultants or engineers that are in the built environment. So we do get their input. So we don't just go with our knowledge. We get their input.
Okay.
Sometimes on much bigger projects, an electrical engineer, some electrical engineers have their own quantity surveyors that work in that electrical. So they will prepare a bills of quantities and electrical bills of quantities.
Sure.
Then we have to compile that with our bill of quantities from the building works.
Okay, sure.
Yes, and a mechanical engineer will do the same. So, and also a fire will do the same.
Sure.
The civil engineer will also do the same. Then you bring all this together. Then you still need to, as a quantity surveyor, we still need to go back to them when you're doing your value engineering, when the figures still feel high or whatever, then you have to value engineer it, work and make tweaks and all of those things you still need. So we are, I would say, We're a center, man. We are a center because we deal with architects, we deal with structural engineers, we deal with mechanical engineers, we deal with civil engineers.
I think what they call you guys is principal agents, right?
No. Let me let me explain that.
Okay.
Like, no, in a sense that in most cases it's architects who become principal agents,
which is true,
but quantity surveyors are all, because the principal agency in our contracts, like especially in the JPCC contract, it can be anyone in the consultants that the client feels they can represent them.
Sure.
Because in a project I was doing last year, it was a house in Constantia. We were principal agents in the project. As the quantity surveying firm, we were also principal agents.
Sure.
So it does happen, but it's rare. It's mostly architects.
Architects, yes.
Yes, because the idea of it's because of the design, because the architects handle the design. So I would say they need to be the ones who are spending more time with the client, if I may put it like that.
Which makes sense, yeah.
Because the design numbers are good, like what is gonna cost is good.
Sure.
Like the money part of it, which is where we come in, is good. But in most cases you find that people want the end product to represent them. So if someone builds a house, there is the style and that the house itself, how it looks, it represents the person who built that, like the client.
Sure.
So the money is important, but at the end of the day, like they need to look at it and love it. So that's why they will have architects as principal agents.
Well, that's quite interesting. I think it you have given me an understanding in terms of who is who in terms of the constructional journey into trying to get a project done. So quantity surveying, like you said, I think is it only building, or does it also do other stuff?
There are quantity surveyors who are in mining.
Okay.
But I can't tell you much about it because I've not been mining.
In mining, okay,
yeah,
sure.
Quantity surveying itself, like they are in like different. There are quantity surveyors in different industries. So you'd have a quantity surveyor in a company like Woolworths, for example. They can have their own quantity surveyor. As I said, like in companies like big civil engineering companies, they can have quantity surveyors.
Okay.
So yeah, we mostly in like our
the building.
It's in the built environment. And what I've seen is that like the size of the industry and the country also determines like the need or the understanding. Like if you're speaking of quantity surveying in South Africa, it's not appreciated or understood as the same way you would have it in UK or in Dubai, because we in South Africa, we don't really do like mega projects like now the big projects that we have that I can think of is the N2. I don't know if you know of it, like the N2 extension in the Eastern Cape, KZN. There is the building like big bridges there. So the N2 was going through some towns in the Eastern Cape, which was causing a lot of traffic. So they're branching the N2, so they're extending it. You must look it out. It's one of the big projects that we're doing now in South Africa that I can think of. You should look it out.
No, check it out. It sounds exciting for I guess civil engineers and you guys. I mean, like whoever that has that project, they know they're gonna be swimming in their money. For the next 10 years, depending on how long the project is. So I want to get into your work. right? You said that earlier on, just going in terms of understanding what civil engineering, civil engineering, quantity surveying is, right? So getting to the work that you're doing now, you said that you're a contractual manager, construction manager.
I'm a quantity surveyor.
Okay.
Yes. But what I was saying, if just to track back now, what I was saying is that when we, like at school, when we start, like at varsity, you are in your first year, second year, third year, you are being prepared for either construction management or quantity surveying.
Okay.
Like at CPUT, for example, where I studied. So you can either be a construction manager or a quantity surveyor.
So which means, which one are you doing between the two now?
I'm a quantity surveyor.
So you're a quantity surveyor?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I mixed it up.
The construction manager is more on the running of the project, when now it's on site, when now the building is happening, you're seeing helmets flying around.
Sure.
The construction manager, I'll just give you like my little knowledge that I have, would set out the site, for example.
Okay.
This is where the containers are gonna be. This is where the gate is gonna be. This is where we're going to start building, sequencing of the work. So it's, when you see it, you must know it's not just something that they came in there. There's a sequence and the setting up of the site itself.
Sure.
There's someone who came up with that. We need to put in our site offices here. We need to have our gate that is going to be having trucks coming in to bring material. So all of that, there's brains behind it, which will be your construction manager.
Okay.
And then they will also be managing like your subcontractors. They will manage, if there's a subcontracting that does paint, they will manage that. If there is a subcontract that is doing like the brickwork and all of that, they will manage that. They will also manage a subcontracting that comes to do the civil works. So they will manage the running of the site. But there is also quantity surveyors that work for contractors. Okay. Which is where my wife is. So my wife works for a contractor. So she's a quantity surveyor in the contracting side. So there's a contracting quantity surveyor, and there's also a professional, a PQS, let's say firm, where we that's where my experience is from. So if I will make an example, when you are from my experience, I'm more on the side of the client, and the quantity surveyor who's
manager
working in the construction side, their interest is on the owner of the contracting firm, like the main contractor. So the person who's building, the quantity surveyor in that sphere, their interest is to make sure that person makes the profit. Then on my side is to make sure that the client gets their value for money, and they make savings and all of that. So in
a clash?
Yes, there is in a big project. So we have these two quantity surveyors, both trained at the university, but now they are coming in with different interests, which it is fun when you get to experience that. There's a lot of fighting, especially there. Meetings. Yeah, there's a little bit of fighting there and there, but there's no harm to it. It's just people who are pulling in their experience, because in all of that you need to understand your contract, because the one who comes with the interest of the contractor, they will put the contract here and say, the contract, I'm entitled to this and this because of the contract, and also you need to understand. So quantity surveying is I would say it's complex, but there is a need for it, and if when it's appreciated, people see why the benefits of quantity surveyors. Both the people who are having like main contractors, when they appreciate the work of the quantity surveyor, they make a lot of money. And same with your clients, either in the public or private sector. So yeah.
I want to get into the tools that you use. What kind of tools are you using to do your work? For example, for us electrical engineers, we use either Revit or you're using AutoCAD. Those are the tools that we use, and we sometimes do bill of materials or bill of BOQs. But for us, that's just an Excel spreadsheet where you just populate it depending on how the standard of the company have done it. So what are you guys using as tools, or what kind of tools are you using?
Like now in the age of computers and technology, there is many programs out there, but the key one, which most quantity surveying firms in South Africa use, would be like your WinQS, which I have experience. I've only worked with WinQS.
And is that something where it's like you need to know it? Let's say if a student now can start learning WinQS as well.
I think some universities, I'm not sure now, because when I was studying, we were not like trained with WinQS. So I think some universities are doing that now, where they would introduce the students with. I encountered WinQS when I was doing my in-service training. It does not require much for a person to learn it. So if you're a student and you happen to finish your degree with not having used WinQS, you're not gonna be like a disadvantage. But it does matter now. Like the time we're in now, you coming out of varsity, looking for work. You see that they say you must have 1 to 2 years experience. You must know this program and that program.
Sure.
So to go back to your question, is WinQS, a program called QS Plus. Then there's another one we use for measuring, like taking out areas, which is DMAX. Then the quantity surveyors in the construction side, they use a program called Candy. Candy, yes. So those are the programs that we use, which also, if you compare the way people used to work back then and now, those programs that we use, they do help to reduce the time that is spent on the activities that we do.
Sure.
Like measuring, like doing takeoffs. When you're doing it like manually, you need to do like scale ruler and all of that. It takes a lot of time.
Sure.
But when you are using a program like DMAX, just put in your scale there and you just click. Boom, it takes your area.
And you can just
it's those programs that have made some people think that quantity surveying is going to go extinct. I don't think it's going to die.
We can always talk about AI. What do you feel AI? What do you feel about AI? Have you started using AI in your field?
No, I don't know of people who are using it. I won't lie to you. I've not actually looked at AI in our field. But there's human element, man, in a lot of careers, and in the time of AI, people tend to forget that most of the decision making comes from the human element.
Sure.
There are people who need to be convinced, and convincing. AI takes knowledge that is already there. It's available. It's on the internet.
Sure.
AI does not bring out new ideas. Let me put it like that.
It doesn't have people's skills, I guess.
Yes, it doesn't have people's skills. So like a salesperson, if I make an example, I know we getting off our discussion, but a salesperson, you may go out going to a mall, knowing that I'm going to do this, you meet a salesperson and a person good at it. They can convince you to buy this product.
Sure.
AI can't do that. It can't convince, there is a lot of human element in most industries.
I think the best way to explain it is what you said earlier on, that dealing with clients, you need to learn how to do. Okay, not necessarily learn. Yes, you need to learn how to do, but it's something like you learn that skill on the job. So, and different projects need different skills to sort kind of like deal with different clients. I think maybe the next question would be, what makes an exceptional quantity surveyor? Like, if you were to look to maybe where you have been, where you are now, and where you probably want to be as a quantity surveyor, what are the skills that makes you an exceptional quantity surveyor?
One would be you must be good at your contracts. And also from another one would be you must be good at your contracts. That will be one. And also have a good knowledge base of your costs. Like for example, one of the directors in the company I was working for, he could look at a design of something and be able to say this is gonna typically cost this much. This is
just
gonna
by looking.
Yeah, it's gonna be this much per square.
Okay.
And that does not just you need a training. You need to be good at that, because it's that type of knowledge where you meet someone at an airport, and they hear that you're a quantity surveyor, and they say like, I'm thinking of doing A, B, and C, and you are able to say, look, I think that will roughly cost that much. When it actually happens, they respect you.
I see.
So they respect you when you actually when you are able to estimate beforehand what something will cost, and when it actually does happen, and they say, hey, this guy did say, so good. The contracts part, the importance of it, because there is a lot of claims that come in quantity surveying, especially in big projects. So you need to know your contracts. You need to know also knowing the contracts to also assist the other consultants team. Because in most cases, if I can tell you, in most cases, other consultants, they use the services of the quantity surveyor to help them when it comes to the contracts, especially when there's contractual claims. If the contractor is claiming to extend the time, or is claiming for more money because they feel like the work is not what is represented in the drawing, you need to be able to know what the contract says about that. So a good knowledge of contracts, I feel like, will make a good quantity survey. And also you must not be average in your technical skills. I think those are the three I can think of.
I think maybe since we did talk about contracts, how I don't know if this would be something that you can just tell me from the spot, which is what are the different contracts that are there, and how do you set them up, and is it something that you can just download from online and you kind of like and then how does, like, because I know about, because recently I've just worked with on a project where they're talking about JBCC and different types of contracts. I had to actually go check, okay, what does JBCC mean? You understand what I mean? So I just want to understand, okay, how does this contracts, like when you say someone has to know contracts, what is it like?
So when two people come in to like, for example, if I want to answer your question, but I want to reference it with the industry.
Okay.
So if you as Shepherd, you have 100 million and you want to 100 million is not a lot of money, but let's say you have 100 million.
I think we're going to talk about money after this.
Let's say you have 100 million,
sure.
And you have seen a plot of land somewhere in Durbanville, and you and your wife, you want to build a house, a luxury house. Now you need to have a contractor that is going to build that house. You need to have a contract between you and the contractor. So you being the client and the contractor.
Okay.
There needs to be a document that is because now you are dealing with a lot of money,
Sure.
So there needs to be a document that is going to be guiding you. So it's going to be telling you as a client what are your obligations. It's going to be telling the contractor. So that's where we come in, and our advice is based on the type of projects. Each project will require a different type of contract, but the most used contract is JBCC.
Okay.
And then another contract that is used would be the GCC, which is mostly in the civil engineering works. Then you'll have the NEC, which is the new engineering contract, which is used in both in big infrastructure projects, and also it has there's different types of contracts within the NEC.
Okay.
So the contracts, they mostly come in the complexity of the project. Like JBCC, there is a contract for minor works, meaning that the contract for minor works is just designed for a simple job, So it's not as complicated, and some clauses you find that you don't need in a small job where someone is just extending their house, for example.
Sure.
But if you are building a bridge, or you building a skyscraper, that will require a different contract.
Okay.
And also the client and how things need to be structured will determine the contract, So that's where the understanding of contracts comes in, because you need to advise your client, let's use this contract for this type of work, So you'll have a different contract if you're dealing with, let's say, KFC is your client.
Sure.
You'll have a different contract because it's a franchise. It needs to look a certain way. You find that you would use maybe a setup where the contractor does everything. Like they just come in and they build this thing and they're done. So there's different needs.
So basically, the contracts, they cater for different types of projects that are required,
and also clients.
Okay.
So there are clients who are like governments, like let's say the Western Cape government, would want to use a different contract. For the procurement and supply chain policies that they have, you find that contract works for them. So the client can determine the type of contract, like the needs of the client.
Okay.
Can also determine the contract that's going to be used, and also the complexities of the project to determine the contract that is going to be used.
I think it feels like we've done justice a bit on quantity surveying. I feel like there might be some few things that I'm actually probably missing out, but I'm kind of happy with what we've talked about, and it kind of brings understanding to someone who's listening to this, and they know that this is where it starts. You're gonna be what's the word? Construction management or a quantity surveyor.
If you studied at a technical university, that's how it's set up. Like for example, if you go and start, like in some universities, you can study like in UCT and the former like your formal university, may call it like that.
Okay.
It's structured like a bit different than you would have in
a technicon.
In a technicon, yes.
Okay.
Because from like some of the colleagues who I had who studied at UCT, they used to tell me in some instances they will, because in universities, I don't know if like they do that thing where they will have, let's say, economics. So I have different types of courses coming in to do, let's say, economics 1, and they all come into one class.
Okay, sure. Or where they there's like for engineering where they physics, and then everyone just goes and doing physics in all the engineerings. Okay,
or maths. Sure. So yeah, like in the training part of it, like by training I mean universities, you are all trained to be quantitative surveyor, but the training is different. And also the Council of Quantitative Surveyors recognizes the training differently. You probably have it also in your industry where the credits are not the same if you studied in a
technicon or university,
like a former technicon, and the other university. For someone who wants to be a quantity surveyor, I want to say this year, I would advise them to go to a university.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying is that if you, like, for example, I'm still in the process, in the process of being a professional quantity surveyor, and my struggles now is the fact that over and above the qualification that I have, there are other modules that I need to do while working. When I'm done with them, then I can go for my like the interviews and all of those things to be a professional, like your APC and stuff like that. Sure. So there is more work after your qualification if you studied in a former technicon, let me put it like that. Okay. As compared to someone who did their honors in
Are you now talking about EXA, registering with EXA?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about exactly. Okay. Because we also have our own.
Because you do have the PR Tech. And this
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Okay. For quantity surveyors, the difference for quantity surveyors is that there is no split that you're gonna be a quantity surveyor from a technicon. Okay. Do you get, like, you just become a quantity surveyor?
Sure.
But now for us, because you studied in a former technicon, you need to build up to match to the standard of someone who did their honors, let's say in UCT or UOFs or VETs.
Okay, makes sense.
But the engineers, for example, and architects, a person can be a architectural technologist if they studied it at CPUT, for example, and be an architect if they did in UCT or whatever, wherever. So yeah, that's my advice. If you have,
I think because usually I actually end the podcast with try to encourage someone out there, but I guess you have, in a sense. But I think that wasn't more of an advice. But I actually like how we. But I think maybe I just wanted to put it like this. For the last conversation that we just had now about extra professionalism. Registering for that, I feel like maybe we can actually touch more maybe on the next podcast. I think you are, in a sense, a regular, because I think you're one of the people that I've called twice on the podcast. So you're a friend of the podcast. I'll actually call you again, and then we just get deeper. And I think as time goes on, it will be more of a conversation than it being like a back and forth interview. But thank you so much for coming through. I feel like we did justice for understanding quantity surveying. And maybe lastly is just for you to encourage someone who's listening, so that at least when they listen to this, they're like, okay, I heard what Mr. Maheshana was saying.
Yeah, I would encourage a university student who's busy with quantity surveying at the moment to just hang in there and understand like the importance and the purpose of our profession. It's needed in South Africa where things are going over budget, and you have let's say power stations being built, and you find that the budget is double what it was estimated, and all of those things. So South Africa needs us as quantity surveyors. There is a need for you out there. Be encouraged. And also someone who has a child in high school who's not sure. If you like to read, if you like numbers but you are not that good at them, but you quantity surveying it can be for you. Yes. It's a nice profession. It's challenging, and I like to say it does not get boring, because the reason I'm saying that is that projects are not the same. You may build 5 houses, like building 5 houses for 5 different people. You're dealing with people with different personalities. Those personalities would make your life interesting. I like to say interesting, not I like to use interesting for a reason. So it just makes our profession to be challenging. If you're ever waking up, it's a different project. You finish one, you're going to another project. It will have its different challenges, but it won't be boring, because now you might be dealing with a different architect than the one you dealt with before. So if you're ever meeting new different professionals in the built environment, but it is a great profession. I think also salary wise, I would say it's not that bad. It's not that bad. There is money. If you're looking at it in the context of South Africa, it's not that bad. But it's not that great also, but it's not bad.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So if I may, like, I know people like figures there.
Sure.
Like now, like someone who probably has just came out from varsity and they have like less than 5 years experience, let's say 2 to 4, they can be getting something from like 18 to 20,000 a month. Like, but as you know how the markets are, there's always gonna be that one person who says, I want this person, but I wanna pay them 15. Like me, when I started, I was not earning. I was earning it like it was not. I don't even want to mention it. It was.
I understand. I understand that part. That part. Especially in our industry, we don't start great.
Yeah.
Usually we don't start great, and I feel like that there should be a standard, especially for technicons.
You see the problem that we have, Shepard, is, I know we wanted to close. The problem that we have now is that, especially in a country like South Africa with a lot of unemployment, the government tends to not to want to touch on that, because the business, or let me say the capital South Africa, like now even the issues of minimum wage are a challenge.
Sure.
So the moment there's a standard, it becomes an issue, because there's always someone who wants the services of a trained person, but they don't want to pay them. Because you go to varsity to be trained.
Sure.
So it makes sense for it to be a standard of where you should be starting, because you went through this whole training to be prepared, and your parents spend a lot of money for you to go through that training. So it makes sense for it to be a standard. So you can't be treated the same way as someone who didn't go through training.
Sure.
So to close, another encouragement would be, if you want to be a quantity surveyor, or you are interested in construction, be it construction management, or you want to be contracts manager or whatever. But in construction, I would advise you, please get a license first year if you can.
Yeah.
Especially what we talked about, the fact that we're doing in-service training. If you are able to get your license before your service training, you won't struggle getting your in-service training.
Sure. Because
companies out there are looking for someone with a license, because they want a guy who can take a bakkie and go somewhere, they can send somewhere, like for my personal experience, I had spent 4 months after finishing my BTech before I got work, just because of an experience of not having a license.
Okay.
I was like, just to encourage and just show the importance of what I'm talking about. I got a call, I think on month number 2, got a call from a company. They were like, okay, we're looking at your CV, we're happy with what we're seeing, can you come through on Tuesday for an interview? It was positive, that type of a positive conversation.
Feedback,
yeah. Then the call ended. 2 minutes, they called me again, and they said, oh, we forgot to ask you this one question. Do you have a license? I said no, and they said, oh no, we apologize. We
can't take
we're looking for And the lady I was speaking to at the time, she said, no, look, we love your CV, but the thing is, we're looking for someone who's gonna be going around, driving around sites, because when you are still starting, that's one thing you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be driving around a lot, going to one site, going to check the progress of the work, doing site measurements. Yes. So
reports.
Reports. You're gonna people are experienced at the office. When you are starting, you are the person they're gonna be sending around. Go check for me that side, take pictures, measure this for me, do that.
Sure.
That's one thing that you're gonna be doing when you are starting. So it doesn't matter if you are working for a contractor or you need to have a license. I'll just get it as soon as possible, man. That's my encouragement. Get a license.
I think I like that a lot. I guess that applies to civil engineers as well. If you are in a first year, just get that license.
Yeah.
It helps with your insurance when you get your own car as well.
Yeah.
It will look like you have been driving for 5 years, even though you are working with a tool. Okay, let me not be. Anyways, thank you so much, sir.
Cool.
I really appreciate it. It was actually nice having you, and you're the friend of the show. Yeah. And next time, probably we're going to be talking about Christianity and more stuff.
Yeah. No. Okay, thanks, Shepard.
Yeah. All right, cool.